In this tutorial, we will explore the essential DevOps tasks that can help adopt fundamental principles of implementing DevOps automation. To ensure that we get a shorter delivery time and can have multiple quality releases on time, we need to ensure that we can identify certain essential tasks and then plan automation. There are some critical elements that we need to understand about DevOps. First, we need to bring the culture to software engineering. In other words, you need to align developers to adopt DevOps principles. Next, we have operations. The operations team needs to understand the significance of DevOps and how it is going to help them support the development and have proper teamwork with collaboration. And finally, quality assurance. It depicts and identifies the quality required for the software and how it is being delivered to the end user. After identifying essential tasks and the area of impact, we need to adopt the principles of DevOps. The first principle is to always look at your application or service from the customer's perspective. In other words, DevOps is meant to understand customers' requirements. Therefore, the entire DevOps practice is oriented or centered towards customers. The second principle is cross-functional autonomous teams. In product organizations, which have multiple verticals, we need to assign fully responsible teams, and these teams need to be entirely independent throughout the life cycle of the development. The third essential principle that we need to adopt is agility. Organizations need to let go of the waterfall or the primitive model of process management and adopt the agile principle to ensure that bugs are identified quickly and are eliminated in the next iteration, where each iteration is production ready. Continuous improvement comes with continuous feedback. We need to ensure that we are monitoring the processes end to end and that we can bring an improvement in the existing product. Next, we have end-to-end responsibility. You might have seen in a traditional organization that develops IT solutions, which then hand it over to operations to deploy and maintain. This practice should go because DevOps prefers collaboration of development and operations. In other words, everyone is fully accountable to deliver the product. And finally, maximize automation. We need to eliminate manual interventions, which is the cultural change that we need to bring in, along with tools and technology that helps us automate various steps of the DevOps lifestyle. Now we will explore the automation in the DevOps life cycle. As DevOps engineers, we need to start with the development environment. So, we should identify the right development environment, which should adopt continuous integration. In other words, we can have multiple teams, which will work on a particular project. The project must be divided into multiple issues where different teams will work on different issues. They need to ensure that after they have developed the code that takes care of that issue, it is sent to a centralized repository, which initiates a continuous integration process. Automation should be adopted when it comes to build and tests. The test environment must be agile, and all aspects of testing must be performed. For example, we should have functional tests and integration tests completed, and then adopt solutions to automate it. Next, we have a staging environment. In a staging environment, we need to perform proper acceptance testing, which is also called user acceptance test. And once it passes the user acceptance test, we need to move to the production environment and ensure that we keep the artifacts in a production environment that can serve to end user. Moreover, we need to understand that this entire life cycle must adopt continuous feedback and continuous plan. Now let's understand the principle of automation. There are various principles that we can adopt to ensure that our automation is proper. The first principle is to ensure that developers understand what they are automating and how they are automating. They need to be aware of various tools that they can use, frameworks that they can use to implement automation. We need to also train your operators to adopt build automation rules. Next, we must maintain automation lists. For example, sometimes it is difficult to automate when we are using commercially owned software. So, we need to try finding a way to ensure that we can identify and maintain the critical list of all the components that can be automated. Next, we need to ensure that all the automation is covered under a strict SLA. In other words, we need to have service-level agreements to drive the critical automation part to ensure that the entire team is aware of what was automated. And what is the approach to automation? We should try to simplify automation steps, instead of making a complex automation cycle. And finally, we need to adopt exception-driven notification. This is handy in ensuring continuous feedback is implemented. And whenever there is an issue, we should ensure that the right triggers are sent out to the right department for handling the issue.